that you had given actually were very, very useful even today. Okay, that said, I'm here for 3 reasons. I know there are a lot of young tech startups are also here. So Zuchi Systems offers 3 things. I'm a marketer, I have to sell, so I'll not take more than a minute. So first thing is, a lot of you have brilliant product ideas. You may want to know how to hit the market. Coming from a tech background, you might have your own perspective, but we help companies build the products within 90 days. If you have a product idea and you want to hit the market in 90 days, because hitting the market is the first bottleneck. Everything else, you're getting your beta customers, working on the feedback, it's all next thing. So MVP, it's a minimum viable. We build minimum viable product in 90 days. So if any of you have brilliant ideas and you have, obviously as startups we understand that the budget may be limited, but you will have brilliant ideas. So you can definitely reach out to me. I'm going to be somewhere here. That's number one. The second area of expertise is software.
Actually, you have to stop.
Okay.
Because if you do this, we are not going to start the program.
Okay.
You only have time for name, what you do, and maybe your company name. Just 10 seconds. That's all you have. Right?
I'm still glad I went for
Just pass it on to it.
Who
Would like to go next?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Raj. So I used to run a startup, and now I'm with a startup called Bigbasket. I came for a vacation from US for a few days, and I thought, okay, let me come and attend and see what can I learn.
Sure.
That's it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shyam. I run a startup called Go Floaters. It's a co-working space company where we convert cafes into co-working spaces. So on the hour, you can get an office space where you want to sit.
Hello, good morning everyone. My name is Saravanan. I am founder of a startup called Reveries. Not a tech guy. Reveries is into reversing chronic diseases. We're just beginning to put together the technology team in place. I thought I can learn a lot from Snap team. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Arun Prakash, founder and CTO of Groovy.
That's all I want. Guys, it would be great if you can do it like our.
Good morning guys, this is Raghu. I'm coming from Design Group.
Hi, this is Shanmuganathan. My company's name is Experimentation India, into mobile app development.
Yeah.
I'm Arvind, and I founded a company called Adios Innovations, and we develop embedded hardware and IoT-based products for other companies.
Hi, I'm Vinod Kumar. I'm from Buffer Code. I'm doing full-time web design and development.
I am Shobha. I head the development and technology in Event Genie with a registration partner for the biggest marathons.
Hi, I'm Karthik. I'm a product head of Go Floaters.
Hello everyone, I'm Darshan. I'm a product owner at Trimble. It's for civil engineering sector.
Hi, I'm Amresh. I'm in my final year of engineering. I do web design in a startup called Spheres Interactive.
Do we get another chance?
Hi, I'm Jagan Selvaraj. I'm co-founder of TBS Next.
Hi, I'm Nagarajan. I head an web and mobile development with IoT company, and I'm an aspiring entrepreneur.
Hello everybody, I'm Saraswati here. I'm heading an organization called Point and Solution. It's in Tiny Park. We are into contact center domain.
I'm Satish. I'm a co-founder of Absolute.
And I'm from Zoho and business development.
This is Srivatsal from Zoho, product manager.
Hi, I'm Prem, working as a web development.
I'm Priya. I'm the director of technology from Pune.
Hi, I'm Ganesh Anandan, CTO co-founder, AlphaSoft Solutions.
I am Sri Sadguru, mobile application developer at Commerce.
Hello everyone, this is Srinath. I'm from Moncton.
Hi, this is Ajay. I work in TCS Technology.
Hello everyone, this is Yasin. We have a startup, Y-Square Technology. We are into analytics, full stack development.
Hello everyone, this is Gokul. I head the technology at Flipkart, a one-stop solution for all the relocation needs of contacts.
My name is Kaushik Tiana.
I'm the founder of CTOTalk.
Good morning, this is Mazir from Indiaâ.
Hello everyone, this is Sai Kiran from IKM Group of Institutions. Although I'm like from Education Institute here, and we are trying to disrupt the technical education which is provided to students. So I'm here to network with you all and do something different in the education sector. And we would like to hope you to network with you all.
Morning, I'm Krishna Kishore, an old man at a stealth board young startup, e-commerce space, so waiting to hear from our man here.
Hi, I'm Karthik, I'm from Genex India. I'm digital marketing professional. I'm Bharati from Kerala.
I'm Mutasalvi, I am from Yoga.
I am Ayappan from Pathfinder. I'm Yuvraj from Siam Company, Rebecca.
Hi everyone, good morning. So I am from Siam Company. My name is Murugesh Pandey. So doing a technical lead.
Hi everyone, I'm Shanmugu, I'm UX consultant.
Pardon me, here we run a health tech startup called Mozilla Health Solutions.
I am also from 5 minutes, we provide merchandising solutions for e-commerce stores.
Hi, I'm Harishankar. I work for Carrot Lane as a head engineer.
Hi, I'm Arun Devanarayan, founder and CEO of Rethink Global Technologies. So we do mobile apps, analytics, and full stack development. Thanks.
We are from OrangeScape, probably passing to someone who's
Hi, I'm Karthikeyan, working as technical lead in Zoomworks.
Good morning, I'm Segi Shivshankaran. I work for Naukri Information Technologies as a software systems architect.
I'm Radha Siddharthan. I run a startup called Thought Delta. We do Wi-Fi hotspots, IoT, and image applications.
Good morning guys, my name is Senthil Narayanan. I am one of the managers from Accenture. I work in big data space.
Good morning everyone, my name is Satish. I'm part of Varun Tech Team and we work in the fintech space.
I'm Raj. I'm also working from Varun Tech Team.
Hi, I'm Agasti. I'm working at Experimentation Services as a software developer.
I'm Jayshankar. I'm from Experimentation.
Hi, I'm Sri and I'm a tech consultant for
Hi, I'm Ramcharan from Gartner. I'm a lead software.
What's the company you said?
I run a company.
Gartner. Oh, is there a Gartner in Chennai?
They have acquired a company.
Oh, what is it called?
CB.
Sorry?
CB.
Hi, I'm Arun. I run a company called CTOs Solutions. We are into mobile app development and resource placements.
Hi, my name is Shiv Prakash. I work as a developer at Renault Nissan.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah. I work for Optoma and we do enterprise cognitive automation.
Hello everyone, this is Samuel P. Joseph. I'm a senior architect in Cognizant. I'm into performance and resilience engineering.
Hello everyone, this is Arun George. I'm a project manager with EC Group. We are a staff augmentation company.
Hello everyone, Dhanashilan here. I'm lead BA at Aeronautics.
Anybody who missed it?
Anybody who missed it?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Prabhakaran from Report B. We work on it's an education technology company. We analyze for students' performance. We have big data.
It's in Hyderabad. No.
This is Lakshan. I am from Florida, cricket engineer.
Hello everyone, my name is Shantakumar Musami. I am from Pinedale Solution, Senior Technical Lead Alternate Profile.
Good morning, I'm Kamala Krishnamurthy, Head Project Delivery, Pointed Solutions.
I think that's it. Hey, Rajesh. Go, pass it on.
Hello, I'm Rajesh Natarajan. I knew Suresh from his previous company days. I came to support Suresh and his great work. I work presently in Hexagon. I'm part of the CTO team. I report to the CTO.
All right, thanks, Rajesh. Thanks for coming. All right, guys. Good morning. So, just when we conceived this program, we felt that there are a lot of events happening, like sort of developer to developer level, but very few events that are happening at the CTO level, right? The technology level, the architecture, building large engineering organizations, building products, and also connecting with the business implications of technology and that kind of level. There wasn't any that's happening at the India, even at the India level, there is no event like that. So we said, you know, that's a space that is out there to grab, and we quickly put together a program. And this is actually the fourth program we are doing, and we almost try to do it once a month. The first one was done by Flipkart CTO Ravi. The second one was done by Bigbasket CTO Pramod. And third one was with Naukri, and the fourth one is of course now with Snapdeal. And the next one is already blocked. It's Swiggy CTO is coming next month. It's October. What is the date? 27. October 27th is Swiggy CTO Rahul is coming here. So block your dates. So how many of you are repeat audience? Okay, that's fantastic. This is what is called community, right? So give yourself one round of applause. So that's really wonderful to have here. I'm going to sort of talk. We have like a couple of more minutes left to start this. Ask a little controversial question. How do you guys think that we are delivering value for this program? The repeat audience, of course. Yeah. Do you think we need to charge something small? No, I think the problem we are facing is that we got, like, I don't know, we have 100 plus people today maybe, right? But we have 200 and something registrations, right? And we want to basically make sure that people who are serious about it, they commit and then they actually turn up. And we build a community which is committed and who is interested in making this better on month after month. So I was actually suggesting to Lalita that, so Lalita by the way is the one who is actually doing all the spade work behind this, while people like me just sort of take the limelight, right? So I thought we'll charge a nominal fee like $200 or $300. What do you guys think? How many of you will vote for that? But just that you are raising hands here, next just take a photograph of all that.
I mean, you can task by, you can pay right away.
No, that's to actually also test how much of value that we are generating, right? So that way, see, I don't know, how much money do you think we spend in putting together one event? Most like 1 lakh. So we spend a lakh, sorry?
Can an organization join, since you said it's a community?
Yeah.
From the organization.
So we have a volunteer group. So there are a bunch of people who are in the volunteer group. Who are there in the, anybody from the volunteer group here? So 1, 2 hands going up. So there are a bunch of volunteers. So I will send out a link in WhatsApp. We have a volunteer group. You can join that group. So then you can co-create this. For example, the speaker guide and all of that is co-created by the volunteer group. So we are trying to involve as much people from this group to actually make this something that we all own and share together, right? Of course, this will continue to be CTOTalk platform provided by OrangeScape. That is not changeable.
No, that's fine, but still.
Yeah, the rest of the stuff, we are welcome anyone to come and be part of this program, absolutely, right? Yeah.
Can you see even live stream?
We do. Actually, the problem with live stream is that once we say it's live stream, people just become lethargic. So it's a double-edged sword. So we have to sort of walk that track a little carefully. We are recording it, so it may be we're just putting together a website and slowly it will be available.
The suggestion I had is that most of the audience here are all Chennai-based audience. So this probably, even inside Chennai also, it is probably not reached everywhere.
Correct.
And then you're saying that this is the only such event anywhere in India.
Correct.
So the rest of the country has to know, the rest of the world has to know about the kind of
Correct.
speakers that are getting, or what are the very few anywhere in the world.
Correct.
So if you live stream, you'll have lot more audience, and then you'll have guys from Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore flying India for this event. You can probably charge $20,000.
I don't know that. But we are planning to put together a CTO conclave. After doing 12 programs, we are planning to put together a CTO conclave sometime next year. So we want to first complete 12 programs. And then we culminate it towards a conclave. And that one maybe we can charge a lot more. Because it's going to cost a lot more to put together such a program. But anyway, so I just want to get the pulse of the audience to see.
Can I interject what I'm saying? See, the thing about 20,000 rupees was a joke, but you will have an opportunity to put together a community of CTOs from all across the country, and you will have access to all of that. I mean, you are the nodal point. So I think that will add a tremendous value. If we can get it by live streaming, probably not.
No, I think we are recording it. We are going to put this online.
This is online on Facebook. We've also streamed it in the past to other locations like Madurai, Coimbatore. You know, there are people there who cannot make it to Chennai, so we've done that in the past. And we'll be doing that.
So you are like Tamil Nadu centric.
Me, right? Those are the people who volunteered to host it there. So we need, we want to, community happens, we want to break this social media, we only work on social media kind of thing, right? So we wanted to host it in a physical place where people can come and meet with each other. So that is, we have some ideologies around that. So we'll talk about that offline, right? So anyway, I don't want to take any more time, and I wanted to pass it on to Lalita to continue the rest of the program. Thank you, guys.
So welcome to all of you. Thank you, Prashant, for accepting our invitation and being here. And so I'd like to just give a brief introduction. So Prashant has over a decade of industry experience developing and managing large-scale, high-availability solutions. He's managed high-traffic websites and high transaction systems at various organizations including Snapdeal, MotorCity, CSC and Newgen. After a 16-month stint at CTO of Zomato, he is now back at Snapdeal. Prashant, who previously donned the hat of AVP for engineering at Snapdeal from 2014 to 2016, is now the head of architecture and key initiatives in the technology team at Snapdeal. So welcome to you. Thanks.
Hello. Yeah, thanks Suresh and thanks Lalita for inviting me. I think pleasure is all mine because I get to interact with such a lovely community of folks from tech background, and I think what most CTOs miss is that they want to interact with the folks who tend to generally not socialize as much. So because CTOs are somebody who keep on head on the desk and not really interacting much with the community. So I think this is a great initiative. Today I'm going to talk about how do we use product experimentation at scale at Snapdeal and how we have utilized that to our advantage, and what is the technology that goes behind doing that, and what are the organizational challenges that are associated with running something like experimentation at a scale at which we are, millions of users and millions of events being processed every second. So we'll talk about this a little bit. So while I was on my way to here, I was talking to my 9-year-old daughter. She said, "Why don't you just you're going to give a technology talk, why don't you just enter dancing on the stage?" So, because it will make it more entertaining. I thought about it, I said, I'll be setting wrong expectations because I am, techie by heart. I have to bore people to death by, my technology talk. So, I'm probably not going to do that for a tech talk. So here we are. I think we are still going to have not as entertaining a presentation as she suggested. So, I think first,
yeah, it's good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, some of these things always work in the second time in a presentation. The audio, especially the audio and this pointer. So something about Snapdeal, I think a lot of people would already know, but because I have been associated with Snapdeal for quite some time, I think I'll give I can still give a good refresher where we started. So Snapdeal started as a couponing site in 2010. Rohit and Kunal put together Snapdeal.com in 2010. They were still working on some ideas around couponing back in 2009 as well. So quite a long stint there. We quickly became a leader in couponing space in India, and then in 2011 we pivoted to become an e-commerce marketplace, where we started being a pure marketplace. By pure means we don't keep any inventory and have high margins on our on our orders. Then I think e-commerce boom was already there, the big billion days and all. So we grew very rapidly. I think I still remember the time when we grew like 100 or 200% month on month. That was the crazy times. From a tech perspective, if I look at from a very techy lens, in 2010, I think we used to run on one server, 184 server, the entire site used to run. And we quickly, I think things escalated pretty fast. We, in 2013, I think we were on few thousand servers then. So if you calculate that growth, it would be much more than 100% month on month. That's from a core techie perspective. If you just if you have to take it from a marketing guy's perspective, the number of users and everything, I think correlates to how your tech platform scales. And it's win-win from a company perspective, where the traffic is growing as well and the market is growing as well. So those were the times in back from 2010 to 16, I guess, when the e-commerce grew very, very rapidly in India. And we are proud that we were part of that phase. So I'll get a little more into detail in the course of the presentation, how we scale our platforms and what is our approach right now. So this was kind of a summary on this. About me, I think Lalita summed up pretty well. She looked it from my LinkedIn profile, which is clearly not updated. So, but yeah, I think but facts remain the same. From a career perspective, yes, 16 years in the industry, last decade in the, especially in Indian internet industry. So I can say that I was part of this when internet was growing in India, and had the ability and opportunity to quickly scale some of the largest platforms in India. As I said, we moved from one machine to thousands of machines. At the same time, we got the opportunity to scale our platforms to that capability, like moving from monoliths to microservices, etc. And we'll talk about that. Personally, I come from a very rural background in terms of my native place and my family back there in UP, interiors of UP around Jhansi. And I have grown up and had my basic education all in my village and the town near it. I think 1998 was the first time I saw a computer. That was when I got into the engineering. And picking the computer science as a stream was also very interesting. I think that would go with a lot of folks around that time. My time, so in counseling, I think we say there is mechanical available, there is automobile available, there is computer science, electronics. Which one do we want to choose? That's how the counseling happens, right? And I was like, okay, I have seen all the mechanical parts, I have seen all the automobile, I have seen all electronics. I have never seen a computer, so why don't I try computers? And that's how I got to pick the computer science. But it has been a great journey since then. I think since I first saw the computer in 1998, and so far, people of our batch were celebrating 20 years of getting together last month, last month, in fact, in August. So 20 years seeing a computer and then scaling the computers and seeing computers grew from 586 Pentium to what they are today in GPUs and everything. So it has been an exciting journey there, and I still take some time and go spend at my village as well, just to get some peace of mind away from all the production issues and all the rush around e-commerce. Okay, so what's an experimentation talk without any experiment, right? And then I could come up with a presentation and a talk with a lot of graphics, which people definitely like, and a lot of bullet points, like a bulleted slide, which is quite boring in nature. But telling my audience that this one is better or that one is better is biased, because we haven't run the experiment. So here I am running that experiment with the bulleted point slides. And we'll get a feedback whether you guys like it or not. And if you find it really boring or uninteresting, don't blame yourself, I think. It's okay. Okay, so we need to run experiments. Now, you'll see in a moment why, as a product, we need to run experiment. And I would like to make it a little interactive as well, that what kind of experiments people have run on their products, etc. So let's see why experiments. This is the journey of Snapdeal and journey of e-commerce, or this could also be defined as journey of any reasonable business over a course of time. When there are new kind of opportunities available in the market, there's huge rush of users, everybody wants to have a pie in that crowd of users, and then move sensibly towards what a reasonable business has to do. So if you look at it, the e-commerce or Snapdeal earlier, in the beginning, a lot of hype and a lot of growth around e-commerce was discount driven, and it was not unreasonable, because if you have a new business model, you have to still win the customers, and discount was one of the easiest and one of the most efficient way to win all those customers. And that's why the e-commerce initially started growing through the discount driven model. Then after a couple of years, when everybody had a lot of millions of users, how to get best out of your users. So and fortunately for us, we were also in the phase where the computing power was readily available. Like back in 2010-11, it also coincided with AWS surge and machines readily available, machines being very high compute. So you couldn't be data driven in 1989 because there were no machines to process that amount of data. But we could. So after we gained a lot of users, and because our economy was also growing, because our user base was growing, there was a time that there would be cutthroat competition, and the only guys who would win with data. So all the companies, I think, during that time moved to the data-driven model, where after gaining consumers, you need to optimize on how your consumers are spending time on your website, how frequently they are coming to your website, what they are buying, what they're exploring, why they are dropping out, why they are not coming back on the system, etc. So I think for the industry, for any industry, that is a very exciting time. And for if you start your own business also, I think this is how would you move. You will first, maybe it is not discount driven, but you will first try to acquire customers, which requires money. Even if you have to get an app installed, you will start putting ads on Google. So there would be money spent on acquiring those customers. Then after you have acquired a critical mass of customers as a startup, you will start looking at their journeys, how those folks are moving within your platform, why some people are sticking with the platform, why some are not sticking with the platform, etc. So you become data driven, and then the next reasonable phase is that now you have to start looking at profits, and that's what we at Snapdeal have started looking at since last year. I think last year was eventful in Snapdeal's journey, and after that we quickly put our heads down and looked at our business and saw that we need to look at being profitable, and that's the only reasonable way for us to become a great business and a business which will stay here for a longer period of time. So you will be happy to know that since July this year we have become profitable, and not just on per unit basis but overall. And we had aimed for September to become profitable, but we beat the target by 2 months. At the same time, our order volumes are in Snapdeal's lifetime are as high as they were ever. So our daily average order volumes are at peak as well. So it's not that we are profitable but we are doing lesser business, but we are doing that with a lot of optimizations, and experimentation framework is one such optimization that we keep on doing. So that's why this experimentation framework is so critical and so important to our business, that we look at data coming from each and every user. We look at data coming from each and every feature that we have to launch, and that's why a scalable experimentation framework is the need of the hour for us as a business. And for us as a business also, because we are in that phase where, So because we are in that phase where we have to look at that data continuously and optimize for every small little thing that we can optimize. We are using this to optimize very small margins within the logistics, how much return rates are, because returns on an e-commerce puts a lot of burden. If you return, it's like double the logistic cost without earning any money. So all these small little things that you can optimize in the e-commerce business, we are using our data platform and experimentation framework to optimize for it. And there is a huge tag that goes behind it, and I'll be taking you guys through that framework and how do we do that. And experimentation becomes a necessity after a certain point when you have to start thinking about your product as something where you have to start rolling out things in a very optimized way. And I'll talk about it. It also is that we at our scale is doing a lot of experimentation. That doesn't mean that everybody at every stage has to do that. And we'll come to it. Okay, any questions so far? I think we can.
Any volumes you can reveal? How many orders per day fulfilled? If you can.
Yeah. No, I.
What is the percentage of market compared to other e-commerce? We talk a little bit about what your market share compared to others. How did you get the first 1,000 customers, 10,000 customers, 100,000 revenue? Like, what was your journey?
I can tell you a great story about, which will be very interesting, how to get first 1,000 customers. But what I'm going to tell is may not be as interesting. So earlier what used to happen, these guys, Rohit and Kunal, before Snapdeal, they were still figuring out how to run couponing from an offline standpoint. Like there was, I don't remember like the name of their startup that they had. They used to sell those print coupons to people, and that is where I think they got the idea that this offline couponing is working pretty okay, but how do we scale that? At the same time, they started working on the website, and once we launched the website, and I think first 1,000 customers came through word of mouth only. I think initial growth at that point in time in e-commerce was in the couponing space as well as in e-commerce was more from word of mouth perspective. I still remember the traffic used to peak at 11 a.m. on Snapdeal.com's couponing website, because people used to come in at 10 o'clock in the office and then opens the couponing website just to see what is in the coupon today. Okay. And there were no mobile apps or no mobile internet users back then. So that's another journey that we had from pure web-based users to mobile users in 2000, somewhere around 2013, 14. In 2014-15, we started getting a lot of mobile users, but before then it was all web users. So yeah, I think first 1,000 stories always for a B2C startup, I think, would be coming from your own circles. That's what I think. The
question is, product market fit is a toughest thing when you do the first 1,000.
Yes.
Are you picking the right 1,000 or not?
Yeah.
So that was the intent of my question.
Yeah, so I think because of, and I was not there when the first 1,000 happened, but what I hear is because the founders were working in couponing space for quite some time, they knew what kind of customers would be willing to buy these coupons, because they used to get them sold mostly at corporate centers, like somebody outside the title park would be selling those coupons. So they knew which kind of people to target, which kind of users to target. So I think the initial set of customers were all people working in corporates where they had their own laptop or computer at the workplace. That's how the traffic used to surge at 11 o'clock in the morning. While the situation is now totally different, when it doesn't surge as much in the morning, while it surges at around 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the evening, when people after work they sit in their commute. So yeah, so I think choosing your first 1,000 is very important, and I think that is where they found their customer base. Okay, so from product management perspective also, when we moved from this discount driven to data driven to profit driven, at the same time I think we also took this journey where as a product you can be a very feature loaded product where you can keep shipping products almost every sprint. You ship one feature, then you ship another feature, then you ship another feature, but then this is what you get into a feature creep after a certain point in time, and it becomes very confusing for the product management or even marketing what feature is working and what is not working. While to the user you might just present a very confusing picture of what the product is focused on, or for a certain user what product should be, and for a certain other user what product should be. That is like you can do a very category level personalization there, but you still need to look at what kind of features work for my business, what features don't work in my business, and that is how you take the journey from data driven to a profit driven, and from a feature loaded product to a product that looks at features that work, and the features that don't work don't get shipped, and that's where experimentation comes into play. Okay, so if you were to build an experimentation framework or start this journey towards being from feature loaded company into a company that ships exactly the right features that need to ship, how do you start there? And as for any question, there are not very straightforward answers. I think context will be different for everybody. So hold your horses. Why I put that slide? Because generally what happens in these talks, I'll talk about a very deep tech experimentation framework, and you take it as at a face value, you start experimenting this in your startup. Some of you folks are from startup that maybe in a very early stage or some maybe in a later stage. But it is very important to know when to take this journey. Okay. So I still remember people. So I keep on talking to a lot of folks in the startup space, especially in Delhi NCR area. People come and ask, okay, now how do I experiment my features on my product? I ask them. I don't jump to the straightforward like how to do this, because I can just tell them how do we do it and you can do it the same way. But how many users you have? So if somebody said I have acquired 100 users yesterday. Like, okay man, first you get to acquire a critical mass of users, only then you can start doing experimentation. There is a certain stage in the life of a startup, in the life of business, where you start doing certain things. It's not that you go after this talk and start building experimentation for your product. You need to look at this very critically, both from CXO perspective and CTO perspective, when to start building on top of this. If you start as experimentation framework or A/B test on your 200 user audience, the results may not be statistically useful. While you may still want to use that, but please don't, because they are not going to be much useful in that stage of your startup. You have to still acquire users, build a critical mass, and then start experimenting. One of the field where you can still, I still remember some of the folks come up with the idea that, okay, I have this idea. Now, how do I validate it? That's where you could still do experimentation, but without building a lot of tech. Like somebody was saying, I want to create an app which runs a community library where we can just, rent and borrow our books to each other. So, can you help me create that app? I was like, okay, how did you validate your idea? So, it was like, no, how can I validate the idea until I have the entire product? So that is where I think we have to start looking at that at different phases of an idea or of a feature or a product. You can use different strategy to experiment. You can just have a Google form and see how many people are interested in borrowing or renting out their books. And there is also a good amount of experiment without a lot of tech. So let's not overburden ourselves with what tech I can build before validating what ideas we can validate without a lot of tech. So I think that is that is called pragmatism. I think we should all, as CXOs and CTOs, we need to have that when we build this in our product. Okay. So I'm going to talk about how to start. So if a product is all about tech, you can just start building a platform for experiments and then see how it works. But unfortunately, any product is a mix of people. It is a mix of capabilities where you have a product management which has to roll out features. You have tech which has to roll out features in accordance with the business, and you have people who basically think in a certain way, and you have to align the people's philosophy as well. A successful product can't be built with one thing. If you have just the tech and not the other two, you can't really build a great product. So if you have to start with experimentation at scale, you have to keep these things in mind. So one of the major challenges, if you are in a phase, and we have been in that phase, that you are in a phase where you are launching features. Like you come up with an idea that there is this product feature that I need to build first, and then say, take for any example, if you want to work on EMI feature as a payment, or if you have to work on a next day delivery shipping as a feature, etc. the approach that you would take 3 years or 4 years back would be that we'll come up with a good spec from a product management standpoint. All the design necessary for it would all be spelled out very neatly with all the error messages also written out specifically what to show to the user when, and then we have a good bulky feature that the tech team would start working on for next 3 months, and then we launch the feature with a lot of hype around it, to press releases around it, etc., etc. The problem with that is then you have invested so much in a feature as a person, maybe not even if we don't talk about it as an organization. As a person, you become so emotionally attached to the feature that there is no way that you are going to accept that the feature would not work. So you will keep on working towards making that feature successful, while even if it has some fundamental flaws in terms of product. And then once you have that kind of philosophy or rollout methodology in the organization, you are basically launching one feature after another, and everybody in say product management or tech is aligned to launch feature. The launch is the buzzword here. That we have to launch feature to become successful as a company. You have to launch feature to become successful as an employee within an organization, where people would not like you. You wouldn't get a great appraisal if you did not launch a thing in last quarter, right? So you have to, from a cultural perspective, you have to move away from this launch philosophy in the product management terms to the rollout philosophy, where you would say, I'm rolling this product out slowly. It's not like I'm launching on one fine day, I'll launch the product and there is a big event around launching the product. It's like I'll launch the product in small little pieces, where I keep on doing validation of my users on every step of the launch, and then I keep making amends in my product at every rollout phase. And there is no one big date you can pick and say this feature was launched on this day, or this was the day when feature was successful. Maybe somebody tweaked a little button, color of a button and it started working. But that is now a phase where you can't really pick what exactly was the day when that did happen. And sometimes for some features, it may happen sooner or later, but you are doing changes at a rapid pace. From a cultural perspective, I think another important thing is that this is between product and tech, how these organizations function, is that when you are in a product launch phase, it becomes mostly like you have a big product spec, PRD, product requirement document, that has to be shipped by the tech team, and then meet a launch date from product, tech, marketing perspective, and then the event would happen. From an organization perspective, what you want is tech and product to work very closely and empathize with users. The philosophy around having a PRD, then shipping that that work to users doesn't go very well with the empathizing with users. So so as a culture, when you have to move away from launch to rollout, this is another important factor that comes into play, is that your product and tech works together day in, day out to make the product successful, not in terms of shipping the product, but in terms of delivering outcome, what you intend to do from shipping that product. And because you are now working on a slow rollout, working day in, day out, looking at data, what people are liking, what people are not liking, ultimately you will get a good product tech team which empathize with users, which understand its users, and so that you can ship better products moving forward. Another thing about the launch and PRD and tech philosophy is generally that somebody would be a know-it-all. Like somebody would say, I know my users very well, this is what we need to do. That's what that paradigm is, like PRD to tech and to shipping. Unfortunately, even though anybody can claim that they know their users 100%. They don't. So there is no know-it-all person. But if you have to move towards experimentation, we have to give it away. You have to say, no, there is nobody that is know-it-all. Maybe you know more about the user so that you can take better choices, but there is no know-it-all here. It also creates a very flip side of it, where when you are giving PRDs to tech, people start looking at PRD that it has been created by somebody know-it-all, so he knows all the answers. So I don't have to look at the user's journey and how they are happening. Somebody has already figured it out. And if something goes wrong, they'll say, you are a know-it-all guy, I'm not a know-it-all guy. So you have to change that culture from know-it-all to I know some, but I have to experiment with users, figure out what users like.
Small question.
Yeah.
So you have a PRD, product launch phase.
Yeah.
But how does something equivalent to that look in roll-out phase? You have to start with something.
Okay, I think that's a very important question. I think once you have a PRD, it doesn't mean that if you're moving to rollout, paradigm, you don't have a PRD. You would still have a PRD. In terms of its construct, it would be different, where it would say phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, like building it incrementally. And then it would also be worked with the tech team that what could be built quicker and where we can have the measurement points. So PRD would still be there, but it wouldn't be like know-it-all kind of. It would also have workflows. If this doesn't work, what to do next. Okay. Generally, the PRD in classical sense would have that. Okay, this is how it works, and this is what we will deliver in next phase. This is what we will deliver in the sprint 4, sprint 5, sprint 6. Classical PRD would also have that plan. They wouldn't have a strategy around where to maneuver and how quickly to change.
Is there a book or website where we can learn more about rollout?
Yeah, I would have some links. I can share this with the audience, and then I can share with you guys, and then you guys can look at it.
I can have a follow-on question. So what are your release cycles right now? Sprints, you talked about sprints. So what are your sprints like now?
We have 2-week
How
sprints.
frequent are they?
We have 2-week sprints, and we also have tiger teams for certain features. So 2-week sprint from a planning perspective, but that may not align with the shipping perspective. 2 weeks you have to deliver certain outcomes, right? Now you can make 5 releases a day, and that's fairly okay.
What you're talking now so far is more for a mature startup.
Sorry, whatever you're talking is more for a mature startup where you have the users, you know what the products. In the early stages, I used to be a founder myself. We don't know what the users want. What we know is what we want to build. Yeah. Most of the time, that is where the founder's dilemma is there. So the biggest challenge for us is, do we roll out the product, or the biggest lesson what we took is, it's better to use a competitor's product. You don't need to do anything. Find out all the problems and then go and solve solutions. That's a. Yeah. So I just want to hear from you, from your thoughts, because there is $0 spent. Yeah. And
I think experimentation is, as I said, it is useful at different stages in a different way. While the early stage startup that is just 200 users or 200 users may not want to do A/B testing on certain features. What in an early stage startup you still need to experiment is with the validations, as I said. You are saying that I know users want this. Now there are certain assumptions around it. This is a hypothesis. Now when you ship a feature, you are not shipping an A/B test feature, you are trying to find out the hypothesis or assumptions whether they are correct or not. So even in early stage, you can still do hypothesis validation. You may not get significant data from A/B testing, but what you can do is you can still validate your hypothesis. That if, as I said in that example, that you can still create a Google form and say how many people are, interested in borrowing or renting out books. That is a classic example of very early stage startup where you have nothing built, but you are still trying to validate a hypothesis that people in general are interested in renting out or borrowing books. Similarly, in an early stage product, you can still do hypothesis validation with certain experiments. What I meant when I said that you don't need to exactly do experimentation in a true multivariate and A/B test kind of sense, because there is not enough of data there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So like Snapdeal or any other product, when you introduce a new feature, product feature, so how do you let end users know that there is such a feature and you can avail and get benefit out of it? And this is quite challenging, even whether it is an internal customer or an external customer. You introduce something innovative and get the people make it work, get the people who use it is little difficult at times. How are you going to achieve it?
I think one is that so that for different products there will be different answers, but there is one from a product perspective. If you have rolled out something very innovative, now innovative, I don't know if you are saying it innovative from your internal standpoint or from user's standpoint. If you are saying it from a user's standpoint, an innovative feature should immediately be discovered by users automatically. So, but if you put a lot of innovation in it, users are not discovering it, then the product rollout itself. So, and this is a product management paradigm where you launch either a product or a feature. You launch both in the same sense. When you are launching a feature or a product, you also have a rollout plan. Now, rollout doesn't mean it's just a tech rollout where you are shipping some features, etc. How are you bringing your customer on board to that feature or product? So if I am launching a new app today, I would also have a plan around it. Okay, next sprint we are going to ship this, and marketing is going to do these activities to get the users on board. I'm going to send these many notifications to this set of custom users to let them know that this feature is available. Either I can let them know about the feature explicitly, or I can implicitly also let them know that if somebody is using a Nokia phone and I have launched the exchange feature, I can let them know that your Nokia phone can be exchanged for this phone in this much prices. That I'm letting them know very implicitly, right? So a product or feature rollout can't happen without a rollout plan, which product management has to do anyway. Yeah.
In terms of product, how the Snapdeal site into e-commerce sector? How the idea transition happens? Do you have a story kind of, because
So I think we were doing some studies around how much revenue we have around Beats or couponing website, and we figured that with a lot of user feedback and discussions, that this will plateau very fast at some point in time. At the same time, I think we were also looking at how others are doing in the same space in other countries. And when some of our founders and folks visited, I think, saw growth of China, they saw warehouses as huge as 2 or 3 football fields, and everybody knows how big the scale is in China. And it was very instinctive, I guess. I can only guess it now, that it was very instinctive that why not do some e-commerce as well. From a product perspective, when we were doing couponing, so we were in all these restaurant coupons and spa coupons mostly. We had a spa and all these hairstylists, etc. We also started having some coupons around products like bean bags, mixer grinder, etc. Those were, in true sense, not an e-commerce product, but deals, where today we will have one deal on bean bag, and we started seeing some good growth around those products. So suddenly we realized it's not just the spa coupons or restaurant coupons that that we can sell. There are some products that we are selling, and we suddenly our couponing inventory was like consisting of 40 to 50% of the product deals, and because we are seeing good traffic on the product deals and good user behavior around the product deals, we made this decision to convert this into an e-commerce site plus a couponing site. Now, when the first flip happened, it was still a couponing. It was half the couponing site, half the e-commerce. The first fold was couponing, and second fold was the products. So that is what the first version of e-commerce happened. And then one fine day we flipped it. The first fold was product deals, and the second fold was the service deals, like the restaurant coupon or the spa deals. And we started seeing a lot of traction, a lot of growth around those products. So, and that is how we started on to a lot more sellers who sell those product deals. And then after a certain point, it became non-scalable to just have 50 products a day, 50 product deals a day, because there was a lot of pressure being built from the supply side. A lot of sellers wanting to sell something at Snapdeal. So I don't just and it was still a truly marketplace, because these were just deals. Where the deal would happen, we would send an SMS to seller, ship this to this customer on this address, and they will ship it. We were like just truly a deal site. And when we started doing that growth, slowly that also happened, that we can have our own warehouses and ship it ourselves and etc. You know the rest of the story. So,
what's your recommendation for early stage startup for a marketplace?
Guys, can we have questions in the end? I would like not to interrupt this flow, if you don't mind, please. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So this team culture, I think I have already discussed. Yeah. For people in the back who can't read it, this is predicting the success or failure for any product. If an engineer say it doesn't do anything new, the product will be a gigantic success. If programmer says that it is really exciting, the product will be a flop. And this is how the crux of this was, I think, with what I was trying to drive is nobody knows the user, and this can be pretty much put into context for anybody, not just programmers, but a product manager or CXOs as well. Nobody can with certainty say that this would work, and that is where the experimentation and validation comes into play. There would be certain things that get you very excited and keep you awake all night or all week, because you just so much want to do it, because you think this is something that is going to work, and I don't want others to snatch this idea. I want to ship it like next week, because this is something that is certainly going to work, and because this is so innovative. Now this, as to his point, is so innovative from my standpoint. So that is why it is keeping me awake. So putting your emotions aside is also very important when building some of these products. Of course, you shouldn't let the passion go away. I think the passion should remain there, but you start executing it from a standpoint of validating all the hypotheses around that product. It's not that you shouldn't ship that product because it is keeping awake. You should, and you must ship that product because it has the required passion behind it. You should ship it with clear understanding of what your assumptions are behind this. Then what kind of users are you targeting? And is it targeting CTO kind of users? How many of CTO users would be there in your as a user for your product? So I think that is what is very essential to understand. So yeah, this is pretty much looks like a cycle that you must have already seen it when we talk about the sprint culture, but to put it into context of a product feature perspective, this is how it should look like. This is how it looks at Snapdeal today. So So once we have this, right, once we have this philosophy, the product is aligned, everybody is aligned, what you need technology for now? At a scale, you still need to have technology so that you can do these things really, really fast. You don't have to build this every time you have to do this rollout, every time you have to ship a feature. So you need to have technology for rollout. Now, when I say tech for rollout is that you can have some configurable frameworks around how to roll out a feature so that product managers can quickly roll out a feature. There should be technology around measuring this. Now, at a scale, the measuring is around all the big data and processing all the events, and you get the right picture of your audience. You get the right data around the segments or around the user segments you might have, around the campaigns you might be running. So it is very important that you have the right measurement technology. When I say about change, it's all, so we talked about that we are doing this sprint by sprint and changing every time we want to change anything in our product. Over a period of time, what we at Snapdeal have developed is that there is a good configurable framework around changing some of these things so that product managers don't have to really rely on a sprint shipping. Some of the features around marketing campaigns, some of the features around how the UI looks like, and some of the features around some very deep functionality like pricing, etc., can also be driven using some of the experimentation engine that we have built. So we have just panels where a product manager can play around with these things, and that is a technology required for if you want to do a lot of rapid experimentation and for a lot of users. And then another important thing is that any experiment that you run, right at the beginning of an experiment, you should know what is the conclusion is going to be around this experiment. Sometimes if you are evaluating a hypothesis, you should know it right in the beginning so that you can keep your emotions aside. If this doesn't happen, I am going to conclude this. If this happens, I am going to conclude B. And that should be very clear from your starting standpoint. Otherwise, what happens is that the phase of the experiments or the tenure of an experiment becomes very long, because then you will always lose sight of what you were to conclude, or you would remain biased around one kind of conclusion, so you will never let the experiment stop. So we have to keep this in mind that what the conclusions are going to be.
Can you give an example from your
yes, I'll come to it. So as I talked about that, they have to be easy to set up, easy to measure, easy to control. At the same time, if you are running experiments for millions of users, and the experiment shouldn't create any additional delay for users. So it has to be very low latency use case. If I want to do some experiments on Snapdeal's homepage or product page, it shouldn't be like it created another 1 second of latency or 2 seconds of latency, then the experiment itself is flawed. Your experiment already has 1 second delay built in, so you can't really, conclude what you were about to conclude. And it has to be scalable if you are serving a lot of users. So this is, before jumping on to the experimentation, I think I'll also give an overview of what Snapdeal's tech is, because this drives how the experimentation framework should look like. Somewhere back in 2012, we moved to microservices from a monolithic system, from 1 server to thousands servers, because we had to scale for these many users. And we have today around 300 microservices for different features. They have been designed from a standpoint of single responsibility. For example, there is an inventory service that just tells us about what inventory is there, whether this item can be sold or not. So in a high concurrency environment where say 1,000 people want to buy a single iPhone, and that actually happened a lot back in 2014, 15, 16, that you want to buy the same product which marketing puts in the ads. And there will be at any given point in time, there will be tens of thousands of users buying the same product. So you need a scalable tech for inventory management, because you can't oversell, you can't undersell them. Same with other services, like you need reviews and rating service, you need a promo and discounting service where one promo has to be used exactly say 1,000 times and not any more or not any less, etc. So all of these services encapsulate a very core use case for them, and the way it helps us is that as a tech platform is that we have a single responsibility architecture so that these services can do what they do best, and in the event of a failure also we know where the fallback lies and what service is failing, etc. So we don't mix up those findings. If you look at it, that if we are looking at a product detail page at Snapdeal's M site on here. So all the information when app requests the information for a product detail page, it is coming from multiple services, and there is an aggregation that happens on our API layer that does simple aggregation, not a lot of logic, but all the logic is built inside these microservices that does one thing and that one thing very well. So for example, the image and title is coming from catalog service, the cart items is coming from cart service, the reviews coming from reviews and rating, there is a nudge service that provides some articulative nudges to the users. There is a promo service that tells about how many promos are running on this product. So it's not that these are not some of the generic statements that you see. There is a good amount of logic built behind all of these, that on what catalog, what seller, what price, what to do, etc. So it's fairly time and rule driven. And this is the same product page below the fold, where you see there is a serviceability service that tells whether this product can be shipped there or not. There is a promise service. And all of these services are fairly deep. If I tell about promise service, we have built a AI-driven model where we look at all the past data from this pin code. So we have to pick this product from a certain pin code where the seller has their warehouse, and we have to ship it to a certain pin code. Now between those, how many couriers are available? What was their average time to pick, average time to ship, average time to delivery? What was the seller's average time to ship for certain kind of products? And what kind of couriers are available for this volume of product, or this weight of the product, or this type of the product? There are some fragile, so some couriers wouldn't qualify for fragile products. Some couriers wouldn't qualify for high volume, packages, etc. And then we have built certain models around how this works. Then this model would be also combined with what is current allocation. We don't want to allocate a lot of volume to a certain courier, because if you allocate a lot of volume to a certain courier, then there are chances that it might slip, because every courier has a certain capacity in a certain area. So all this is, when you see a product detail page, it is just simple that you can put 6 to 8 days. But if you look at it from a back-end perspective, there is a huge calculation happening around that.
So these are dynamically calculated, whatever.
Yes.
Not a predefined.
No, these are dynamically calculated. There are certain amount of caching that would happen at front-end layer, but these are all dynamically calculated every few seconds only. So the caching is also, sometimes sub-seconds. Yes.
So no warehouse of your own at all?
I think there are few. Very few right now.
You put this later, but you said there's an aggregation. So all these services are called, they're not aggregated at the client side, but
no, not the client side. There is on the server side, there is an aggregation layer that does the aggregation, which is the front end layer.
All this waits for all the responses and aggregates.
Because all these services in parallel, if it can call them in parallel, gets the result, combine the result, and send it as a one response to the client. But the aggregator doesn't do a lot of logic, apart from maybe some caching.
Your client is built on what? What is the client layer built on? What's the tech stack?
So the client who is the app, and app, say Android app is built on Java.
Yeah, of course. The web.
Okay, the Okay, also our tech is fairly homogeneous. The backend services all are in Java stack. So Java, Spring, Hibernate, and MySQL being the core where the services need MySQL. The caching layer, in most services are Aerospike, and some services use MongoDB as well. Some services use Cassandra as well. Some use HBase on the reporting side. But in terms of core tech stack, it's mostly the service is running on Tomcat using a Java as a primary language and Western framework.
And the front end?
It is also in Java Spring. Java and Spring. We have started using React for Insight.
React Native?
Not native. React.js. So this is how the tech stack looks like, and I'll let you know why the reason behind presenting this, because when you have to do an experiment, it has to also talk to all these services. Behind all experimentation and all these services, what happens is that we have to make a lot of decisions, we have to process a lot of events. So you can't just run an experiment using just feature flags, etc. So you have to have a lot of data processing capability. And so that's why we have created our own data platform a few years back, where all the events coming from users are processed by our data platform. All the user events as well as the transactional events, where the data platform aggregates all the events coming from users, all the events coming from all these services as well. So all the services, like say our order service, whenever transaction happens, whenever user buys a product, that core transactional data also flows from MySQL bill logs to the data platform. If a package was returned by the user, that is an event, but you will find that in a click stream, as a click stream event that comes from courier and then to our shipping and logistics services, and those services will put those events in our data platform, so that you can combine all of them together to actually get a combined view of your users' events. And all these events and then are then combined for a user data, so either for a user or a seller, etc. And so that you get a very homogeneous view of the data. So data platform is doing that in real time almost for every event. So if you do some events, and if I go and ask the data platform what was the last action done by this user, it can return that to me immediately in few milliseconds, in around 10 to 15 milliseconds, will tell me what this user did. And I think from a tech perspective, that creates an opportunity to build experiments on top of that. Okay, you added something to cart, can I issue a promo to you so that can I push you to transact on the platform? And because you have that kind of capability, this is the engine that is driving that capability to build such experiments. I think this is pretty verbose diagram there for our data platform. The crux of this is that all the events from app and transactional data comes into a Kafka pipeline. We do validation of these events. We do aggregation of these events on Kafka Stream. We do real-time aggregations, put the data back in Parquet files, put the data back into our Aerospike